question is, are you ready?
Hero for kids, yes.
The question is, are you ready? Good morning, Crema de Nona. How are we doing out there today? Great to see everybody. And we got my buddy Julio back. Man, we missed you Friday. But don't worry, I told everybody you were trying to commit insurance fraud, and we had Bob here with Felicia Insurance Agency. So he said as long as you had that hole dug before they showed up to take a look at it, you should be okay.
Well, I was dealing with the police department. They were already here in the HOA, so leave me alone. Don't knock me, bro. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
And look at this. We've got Millie with us, Melissa Griffin with EM2HR. Julio, did you bring this on? I didn't think we needed to have HR here. We've already had our attorney on. We've had our copyright issues. I mean, we've had all kinds of stuff. And I didn't think we created that much trouble.
Well, because of the pandemic, we had to make sure that we're CYA, apostrophe yes, and so who better than my good friend or niece, like she calls herself, Millie. And before we get started, let's give thanks to her husband, Gene, for his patriotic duties in serving our country.
Yes. And remember, this is back here for those guys there. So go out, thank a vet. Millie, thank him for his service. And he's not the only vet. Yep, I was going to say, he's not the only vet you've got in that house, is he?
Nope, he's not.
So definitely thank them for their services. We really appreciate it. That's a twofer there, which is extra special. So
yes.
And we've got our blue on today.
Yeah.
And that is in celebration for all of our healthcare workers that are out there that have been busting their humps, getting us through this whole mess that we're here. Why we're doing everything virtually instead of hanging out like we used to. So
thank you, Frontline. Thank you, Frontline.
Yeah.
The ones in the back that we don't see, like the lab technicians, the imaging people, those type of people we don't see.
Yeah. And I guess even the ones that stick you with the needles, I
yes,
for them. But hey, they're all there too. It's all part of the job. But
back
yeah,
goes to the doctor that helps them get all the results.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, with that, let's get rolling with this stuff. So now you might know a little better than obviously me and Julio would, because we just kind of roll with whatever's thrown in front of us. But we figured this whole pandemic, once it started, isn't that a good way to kind of thin out the herd? It's like, you know what, I could cut back on expenses, and here's a reason. See y'all later, you're fired.
Oh, you have to be very careful about how you do things. I mean, all the employment laws is still in place. So you have to make sure that if you make a decision like that, you're not violating the age discrimination. You're not violating any of the EEOC for discrimination towards race. You just have to be very careful how you make that decision. You can't say you have, keep everyone that's younger and then terminate everyone that's older. Then you can have a discrimination lawsuit against you doing that. So you really have to analyze everything.
And I'm sure there's probably a little bit more than that, that eventually people can get with you and ask you about all this. I just saw something the other day that I think companies are trying to see if they can prevent lawsuits because of COVID-19. I mean, I knew that was coming. We live like in a sue-happy society as it is. So I know that was going to be an issue coming up pretty soon. So let's hope it doesn't get pandemic. It doesn't get too crazy, in regards to like lawsuits. I mean, we can't, and then if we're going to do lawsuits, let's start from the top. Why didn't they take care of it? whatever. But let's be careful, and hopefully we can get through this in a happy state, and no many more lives lost.
Yeah, well, I think it's more knowing what you think you know, what you don't know. I mean, I've experienced that where a lot of CEOs, they think they know something, but they actually don't know it until it's brought to their attention and they're like, oh, I didn't know that. I mean, it's very confusing. The employment laws are very confusing. And one of the mistakes that a lot of people do, they'll say one thing that fits them and they say, oh, I can do this, but it doesn't work like that. I mean, when they say you have to meet all these criteria, you have to meet all those criteria.
Yeah.
And it's even more confusing now because with COVID-19, employers, even my hairdresser, she took my temperature, and employers can take temperatures of the employees. You get a Barbara with the razor. They're allowed to take the temperature of their employees. And if the employee states, they don't want to take the temperature, they can actually bar the employee for going there, because it's not just, taking the temperature is part of the CDC, the crisis of the disease to prevent people from getting sick. But here's the thin line to that. You can't not take the temperature of people who you as an employer decide to take the temperature from. It has to be everyone across the board. You cannot say, well, this person is at the high risk age, I'm going to take their temperature every day, and you're not taking the temperature of somebody who's not at the high risk age. That's age discrimination. So you really have to do it for all. I mean, the key thing to anything and to prevent discrimination or lawsuits, what you do for one, you do for the other. And then, that's part of the EEOC and age discrimination. Then you also have the fact where someone will basically say, okay, you having the symptoms of COVID-19, I need you to go see a doctor. And the employee says, no, I'm not going. But they have to, because they need to know they have it or not, right? And they say, no, I'm not going. The employer can say, well, until you see a doctor, because you're showing a cough, you're sweating, all the symptoms, I need to know that you're okay. You can't come to work. And that person who, was sent home and doesn't go to work, they don't qualify under the FFCRA, which is, it's an amendment to the Family Leave Act, but it's not, a new family, it's just an amendment to it, just because what's happening now. But if the employee says, okay, well, I already seen a doctor, I don't have anything wrong with me, and they have a no, then that's fine. The employee can take that and leave that just where it's at. But they have to show some type of cooperation, that they're cooperating and making sure that they're not sick and they're not going to spread this, because the bottom line, all of this is making sure it's not spread anymore. And, and then with that comes with the American Disability Act, where employers have to make sure that whatever information they have on an employee that's medical, or they know an employee has COVID-19, they cannot tell anyone other than need to know basis, right? So if you have a manager, they can tell the owner, and the owner has to take those steps to inform, CDC that this person possibly can have COVID or does have COVID-19. But you can't go around and tell everyone, because, American Disability Act is, they are strict when it comes to medical information being confidential. And is not only the COVID-19, is any medical information, and that folder is supposed to be separated. So it's very, very important that employers understand the regular employment laws and know where to put them, especially when you have these new things coming in.
Yeah.
They may be, under the assumption saying, oh, I can do this and I'm not going to be hurt. But yes, you can, because there's a thin line. And then the other thing that I want to bring up to you is the questions. You know how now they ask all these questions, have you traveled? Have you been here? Have you did this? The employer asks those same questions. That's fine. The employer cannot say is someone in your family with COVID-19? Is anyone in your family? You can't say that. You cannot specifically ask an employee about the family members at all. That is against the GINA, okay?
Wow.
That is the genetic information, non-discrimination. No employee at any given time is to ask any employee about the family history when it comes to medical. The best way to address that is, do you know anyone? The key word is anyone.
Anyone.
Anyone. Do you know anyone with COVID-19? Have you been around anyone with the COVID-19?
Wow.
And that will protect you from that.
Now, can you respond to that with "I don't recall"?
If you respond with that, you don't recall. If you've been around anyone,
I plead
you'll
the
be
fifth.
monitored.
I don't know. Sometimes you turn on the news and all you can say is "I don't recall." So, would that cover me if I knew somebody that had COVID and they asked me, "Do you know anyone?" And you could say, "I don't recall."
Well, that's going to be on your conscience, right? Because if you get sick and you get other people sick, then
oh yeah. I guess that conscience
there's
thing.
no way an employer can get that out of you. You say, "I don't recall." There's really no way. But the employer has to be very mindful and really pay attention to the employees. It's not right now where they just sit back and let everything be. They have to really be very vigilant, to know who's sick and who's not, know what the symptoms are, and pay attention to each and every one of those employees.
So let me ask you a quick question on that whole thing. So you get someone, okay, people have allergies, people have little coughs, sneezes, this and that, anytime. It could, years before this ever happened, someone had a cough or sneeze and they weren't sick. So if you've got someone say their allergies are acting up, can you take that precaution and send them home? Or are you going to get in trouble for discriminating and send them home because they happen to be coughing and sneezing?
As I mentioned earlier, they can tell the employee that they would like them to see a doctor to ensure that they are not sick with the
So
COVID-19.
just retest in that situation.
We need that doctor's note like we used to get when we were off at school.
Yeah, I mean, you always need a doctor's note, but now they want it after 3 days. But yes, if you feel that a person is coughing, I mean, there are specific symptoms, right? A sneeze doesn't always mean that that's what it is. It's a cough, it's a fever, it's feeling sick, fatigue, those are things that you have to look at. The person is not performing the right way because they're too tired or whatever. Then you can tell them, listen, I need you to go see a doctor, and until then I can't let you come to work. And if they do turn out to have the COVID-19, then they'll fall under the FFCRA, which is that'll take like a whole different day to do. But it's it's important that it's just to make sure that the employees and the employees work together, and the employees understand that it's also their duty to let their managers know that they're not feeling well, and they're not going to get penalized for it.
Yeah.
People hold this back because they feel like they're going to be penalized.
Now, how's that hold up? Okay, everybody's worked with somebody that every Monday morning they seem to have every one of those symptoms for COVID. What do you do in those situations if you do have a chronic partier that every Monday is absolutely miserable, fatigued, just an absolute wreck? Now,
but they're okay on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, then they don't have it.
Well, Thursday there might be a wind down Wednesday.
Monday, no one's ever heard of Monday blues. What the heck?
Well, we have Tuesday Blues Day.
Tuesday blues.
Listen, Robert, I'm sure that if that person is that way now, they will like that then. So I'm sure the employer knows this person's habits already. Employers should already know how their employees are.
So them, they can be fired.
What?
No.
Fired? For
coming in.
That they've been doing since they've been there, and the employer didn't correct it. No, you have to address it and then correct it by disciplinary actions and a process,
Yeah.
not just fire persons because you feel like doing it.
Well, if they're always hungover on Monday, that's not a reason. So
Well, then
go
as an
go through.
employer, you're supposed to correct that because they may not have a hangover. They may have a medication that makes them feel that way.
Ah,
See,
see,
and that makes
see,
all
that's
of the
why
change.
that's why we have you. If it was me and Julio running this thing forever, oh man, it's like you're fired, you're fired. You could hang out for a week,
Oh.
you know. It's like,
You have the right to ask, and if they say no, I take this medication in the morning, it makes me feel this way. Now you have to determine whatever reason why they're taking that medication does it fall under the American Disability Act. You have to be very careful with things like that.
so it
Hey.
all goes back to that same thing. Go ahead, Julio.
Yeah, but anyway, we can stay here all day long talking about this because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
going to be a huge liability. But Rob, do we have any questions for Miss Millicent Griffin here from EM2HR Alliance, where we get to know a little bit about her business? So, Rob, take it away.
So fill us in on everything you got. You like that, Julio?
That's not being specific, and that's not being fair.
Well, how
No,
about
but-
Lily? What do you
but-
specialize? Being how long have you
Yes.
been in business? How long have you been in business?
Well, I actually put my business up in some business in 2018, and then I received the contract, what you guys call it, a gig or whatever, for a year. And then when that was up, then I actually went out and started launching my business, I would say June of last year. So I would say technically it's going to be a year.
But your background is extensive.
Yes, I've been in management for over 20 years, and 15 years of that has been in HR. I was in the auto industry for a very long time, for most part of my young adulthood. And I really like HR because I'm very passionate about helping people. So when I worked at the auto industry, I did customer relations and HR. And it was a passion for me that my general manager noticed that I like to help people. And should I say that at the end of the day, I like to be the hero because I solved the problem, and that's my passion right there. And then when I saw how much I can help a business in so many aspects, because HR can help by keeping them compliant, can help them with strategies, can help them grow, can help them bring in the great talent. When I saw how much HR can do for a business, I was just like blown back and said, this is, I want to stay in this. I want to do this. I love helping businesses. I love to see the outcome. I like when I speak to prior employers that things that I put in place help them grow and become bigger. I like that. I like leaving my, should I say, my stamp behind, knowing that I did so good with a business. And I figured if I can do it for them, I can do it for me. And I want to spread my knowledge out to more than just one company, right? So that's why I decided to open up my business where I can have multiple companies and help them with things. And then I originally started out as just HR, but HR is an aspect of everything, of payroll, benefits, and background checks. So I partner up with partners, my partner who does payroll, a partner that does benefits, a partner that does backgrounds. And then, as I'm going on, with my business, I'm noticing that people are also asking about, general liability, workers' comp. So then I partner up with, with someone as well to do that part. Because as an ASO, I'm similar to a PEO, but I'm different. So PEO they lease out the employees, they're co-employer. And that means that the workers' comp and the unemployment goes under the PEO's EIN number. With me, the employer is fully responsible for all that themselves. I am the administrative support for the organization, but the employer is responsible for their own unemployment taxes and their own workers' comp. And I'm just there to support them. And if they feel that they're having issues with efficiency, I can help them with that as well too. I recently purchased a software that helps mitigate the compliance as well, but also takes out the analog paperwork, and everything is in the computer, from keeping the history to doing discipline, from tracking the I-9 to also putting incident report, all under the profile of that one specific employee. And you can just pull up the employee's name, and everything is there, and it integrates with QuickBooks. So you can hire me as HR and payroll. You can hire me for just the HR, and if you just want payroll, then I'll send you over to my partner. But I prefer the HR and payroll because this way it helps me monitor everything to make sure that those people that you're paying, you have them classified correctly, because that's also an issue, right? You have people misclassified, that can be, a lawsuit too. So it gives me a whole synopsis of everything when you put all the services with me, that I can see everything and I'm able to guide you better. And one thing that differentiates me from everyone else is that I actually go and visit the clients. I get to know their culture, and I meet the employees. And to me, as an HR person that worked in businesses behind the desk and worked for a PEO, it's important to me to know the culture, because that's the way I'm able to advise you better. Because if you have a culture of, let's just say, you have a trucking company, and truckers, we all know they curse, right? So you get this one person that no one likes, and he comes in and he curses, and then I get a call, I want to write this person up. What do you think I'm going to say to them, Julio?
Gotta stop cursing.
I was about to swear, so I'm just trying to be nice.
Well, actually, the entire culture is cursing. Then everybody either gets written up, or you don't write that person up, because then that is going, depending on who that person is, it can be looked at discrimination.
Yeah.
See, you don't think of things coming from that direction. Hey, one other thing we've talked about previously, as far as matching the right person for the right job, and when you see someone that moves up and they fail miserably and they never get a chance to go back to what they excelled in. Is that something you see a lot out there?
Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens when you have a manager promoting a manager, either because they're friends or because they did really well in that position, and they say, oh, well, they're doing good here, they can do here very well. But if they're not properly transitioned, they're not properly trained to handle that role, regardless how good they in, say, level 1, if you want to put them in level 2, you need to transition them correctly to that level and tell them what your expectations are for that role. And they have to tell you honestly, I don't think I could do it, but a lot of times they won't, because they see the money. But if you have the person working in their level 1 role, and at the same time training in a level 2 role, somewhere along that line, because the money is still the same and they still need level 1, that employee most likely would say, I don't think I can do that, right? So it's important that, companies, especially big ones, they have a succession plan where they can see who in the organization is capable of taking on the next role, and then have the person who's in that role mentor that person. So this way, if something happens to that person, then you can move that person and transition them into that role easily, right? But there is a lot of failure there because of high expectations, but the employee don't know what those are.
Do you see it more as a lack of training and a lack of preparation, as opposed
It's always a lack of training when an employee fails.
Wow.
I mean, you will also say whoever recruited them, if they didn't recruit them correctly, then the recruiter has a lack of training, right? And then if you bring the person in to do something, even though they have done it somewhere else, your business operates different than the other business. So if you're not training them correctly, if you're not teaching them what your culture is, there's going to be failure there. It takes, you have your orientation, and it takes up to 6 months to a year to onboard an employee correctly. And that's with proper
That long?
training.
It
I
takes
would
that long? Wow.
I would agree
Yep.
with that. You look at the sales. I can't tell you how many times I see salespeople fail. Well, number one, again, just like you said, Millie, no training, absolutely no training. Go out, figure it out. Good luck to you.
Mm-hmm.
Hope for the best.
Yeah.
And you look at any of the job, any of us that do any of the networking or any of that kind of stuff. Did someone show up to a meeting and you bought a house, a car, or this, or that, whatever it might be? No, you're not going to do that off of the first time you see somebody. You got to know who they are. So there's going to be a learning curve of, well, learning you.
Yep.
They're going to have to figure out who you are. So yeah, I guess 6 months is not out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
But that's when all your preparation on the beginning end of it makes that 6 months worth investing in.
Correct.
Because
You have to make sure you give the proper tools. You got to make sure you have everything, lined out to what you're going to do with this employee. And you have to have that employee with a mentor. When I worked in the auto industry, and I was in there for 15 years, and I did training for the salespeople. Okay. And it took, because Toyota has 17 different vehicles, and within each vehicle is a model, and each model has something different. So you can imagine that the salesperson had to remember 17 vehicles, plus within each model, another model, and different packages, right? Tons of packages, tons of colors. The one way that I found that it was so easy to do was, here is the booklet that we give the employees, go to the car, touch each and everything on that car. So I had groups, group A, B, and C, touch everything on that car. And then they test each other, then I would test them. And then I would rotate them. That would take me 6 months to a year just to get them to know the car. Then you had the sales manager who was teaching them how to sell, right?
Did you do that in January? Because then September, October, the new models come out. Then what do you do?
Right, exactly, right. So September comes the new models. In December, you got to get rid of all the old inventory, get them off the floor plan,
Yeah.
But a lot of times they just change a little bit of things. It's every 5 years that they change the whole body or something, right? But once you know the baseline, the rest comes very easy. But it would take 6 months to a year. And prior to us putting in that training, our sales people were like revolving doors. In and out, in and out.
no way, not at a dealership.
Yeah, in and out, in and out.
That's never
And
happened.
we weren't even selling a lot of cars back then. We're talking 97, 98, 99, 2000, maybe 67 cars to 90 cars. But when we started putting this into place, I was, our salespeople were there for years. And that's perfect, because when they do a lease, who comes back to that same person in 3 years? And then they get referrals, and you already build that rapport. So then at some point, the salesperson doesn't even need to take up and up anymore, because they have all those referrals. So that's why it's so good to have the same salesperson there. And then we went from 67 to 300 cars a month.
Yeah. And that's
So
where
training
the
is
culture definitely plays in.
Mhm.
I have dealerships are high school. That's all I'm gonna say is it's high school. You've got all your drama, you got all your other stuff. You got to stay focused. You got to stay away from a lot of that stuff. But in saying that, they are a really good place to work if you do your job and do the right thing and abide by all the proper rules that you're supposed to have that Millie has been filling us in on with all that stuff. Yes, you can make a great living, as you can really with any position, if you just focus and excel yourself and do the right thing. And ultimately, you want to be in the same place next year, the year after, the following year, because every extra 6 months, you're going to have that additional, well, you should, in theory, have that additional 6 months of training and learning, and that additional 6 months
And
of
continue.
training and learning.
It has to be continuing. Toyota's really strong in continue education with everyone. I mean, you could have really good salespeople who don't have a passion for cars, so they don't do well. They do well maybe selling homes or something. You
Right.
have to be passionate about what you do in order to be really good at it.
So
Exactly.
Millie, speaking of passion, your company, I know you have some corporate people under your belt there. Do you wear a belt? No, I'm just kidding. But I know you have
You
some
can't
people.
ask that question unless you ask everybody that is listening to this broadcast. You cannot ask her if she's wearing a belt. And just to put
Well, she's
things
wearing
to
pajamas.
rest,
I don't
this
know.
has come up before.
Or a
You
black
see
belt.
this? I have pants on. I am wearing pants during these broadcasts.
Those
I
look like
do.
those are pajamas. Those are not pants. Those are your pajamas. Your sexy pajamas. But
These are
Millie,
fancy
I see 'em
designer
all right
jeans.
now.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So Millie, do you your clientele, whether small or big, I mean, do you go from a certain amount of people in the company to the corporate type? Like you have, I don't want to mention any names to the protection, but in your company. But do you have a certain amount of people that you targeted, like small companies, 5 or 10 people, and the corporate like 50, 60, 100, or you're limitless?
I don't discriminate.
There's that word again.
Yeah. So she follows her own medicine on that. So, but
Well,
with
some
that,
people,
I do want to talk about one quick thing,
Anyone
and we've
who is an employer with employees and want to stay compliant to avoid financial and legal risk and values their employees and values HR is the one that I want to take on.
great
Because there
answer.
are, there
Excellent,
are
yeah.
employers that take HR and use them as fall guys. And that's why I have a long list of questions to make sure that, you're doing this because you really want to be compliant and you really care about your employee.
yeah. Since we are just about out of time, Millie, I do want to talk about something else. So we love our nonprofits, we love our veterans and everything else, and you've kind of got a mix of the two going on. And for those of you, as soon as this is done, scroll back through the Crema de Nona pages. It should be somewhere in there. You'll see exactly what we're talking about. But please tell us some of this stuff you got that is so super cool and what you're doing with it.
Okay, I'm a true believer in giving back. Okay, you cannot grow and prosper if you don't give back. You have to plant your seeds, right, Julio?
That's correct.
Yes. So I sat down and I was trying to figure out how can I give back to my community. And well, this is my mascot. Say hi, Queen. She's my mascot of my company, and she is a certified therapy dog. And right before the COVID-19, we visit the veterans home, and they pet her. And I had just tried signing her up for the children's hospital, so we can go there and also they can pet her. So she makes people very happy. But in return, and she's all the way in the bottom of my page. In the return, I'm a big pet lover, and so she asks, right, Queen? She asks that the humans in return donate to Pet Alliance of Orlando. So it's a no-kill shelter so they can find homes. And then with this COVID-19 happening, I was speaking to my mentor. His name is Jay, and he gave me a great idea and told me, why don't I do t-shirts and things like that? So I started designing these t-shirts for the heroes of the COVID-19. And then also my mom being a medical lab scientist, her complaining to me about how they don't get no recognition. I did the unrecognized essentials as well, which are those that no one really recognizes, which is the lab technicians, the people in the groceries and the stock rooms, a whole list of things that are there. The volunteers, how many volunteers do we have during this time? And no one said anything to them, So I put that there as well. And then I did a little pillow for Queen. If she makes you happy, hug her, and all that 100% the profit that has the heroes and the essentials that goes to the food harvest, and then anything with Queen's picture goes to Pet Alliance. The profit 100% goes to them. I don't take any of it.
And we'll have the information down below.
Yep. And then you can choose some different products. It doesn't have to be that specific thing, because I did it where you can transfer it the design to anything you want. You can put it to, you know, cups. I'm getting an air freshener with her picture on it. So, I mean, you can do it to anything you want. Pillows, frames, you know. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. That's
That's awesome.
absolutely awesome. We are just about out of time. You do see the EM2HR that's been going across the bottom. Put a .com at the end of it, and you can go directly to Millie, and you can fill out a form and everything else that you got, so we can get in contact with you. And all the rest of her information is on it. And in case you don't want to go that far, she is gonna, as soon as we're done, put all the links for that, and including the nonprofits that she has. So that way you guys could just go there, click that, it goes right to her. But Millie, thank you so much for hanging out and putting up with Julio and myself. It was absolutely awesome. I promise we will, anything we do, we are going to do to everybody the exact same way. So,
So call
we'll
me
be-
Uncle Julio. I am Uncle Julio.
Yeah, Uncle
Yeah.
Julio. But there is something, I'm going to put also a link for a survey. I'm really big in getting feedback, because to me, that's the only way I can improve myself. So, you know, you don't have to put your name, it's there. And, you know, just let me know what you thought and what you think there could be an improvement. It's only like 5 questions. It takes about.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
fill
Great.
that out. But with that, we are out of time. We do
Happy
have
Memorial
2
Day
giveaways.
week. Happy
Our
Memorial
first-
Day week.
Our
Yes.
Thank you,
first
veterans. Thank you, veterans.
Our
Yes.
first giveaway is going to be for Jana Rodriguez, and get a hold of myself and Julio. We'll get you in touch to win with
Rodriguez.
with Millie. And you're going to be forced to watch the YouTube video and put comments in there, because that is where our second one is coming from. So with that, we are out of time. Right down here, you're going to see the coffee cup later on during the YouTube rebroadcast of this. With that, you guys have a great day.
Thank
We
you,
love you
Millie.
guys out there. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Millie, thanks again.
Thank you.
You are so awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. So are you guys. Stay blessed. Bye.
Thanks for watching. See ya.